The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 18th day of November, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations on a regular basis. Folks, I'm Jamel Hartman, and we'll have a news break from Maya Palacio in a bit. How's everyone feeling today? I'm tired, folks. I had a long night. You all know, your boy. I don't hang out late, but I had some work to do last night, and that work included going to the BDC's Wave of Opportunity competition with Global Atlantic, and it was a blast. You had some folks that had some businesses, and they blew it up, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So we'll get into that in a few. But hopefully everyone's feeling good. Hopefully you are ready for today. So greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the Minister of Home Affairs, the Honorable Alexa Lightbourne, onto the show. Going to be discussing the government's affordable Bermuda plan. So affordable Bermuda is in focus this morning with the Honorable Minister. Folks, the daily play is a remember when, all right? So how well do you know Bermuda laws? How well do you know Bermuda laws? Yeah, you need to know Bermuda laws today, all right? Don't forget to do us this favor, subscribe on our website, follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, well, let's jump right into it, folks. If you don't know, the government of Bermuda, I'm saying the government, the Bermuda Police Service, sorry, the Bermuda Police Service has announced, I was really about to blame that on the government. The Bermuda Police Service has announced a weapons amnesty ahead of the game. I'm reading the headline from the Gazette. Weapons amnesty aims to put police ahead of the game, I should say. So they've announced a weapons amnesty that begins today through December 17th. So here's your questions of the morning, audience. Here's your questions of the morning. And this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. What are your thoughts on the weapons amnesty? What are your thoughts on the weapons amnesty? And do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? So let's just go through some notes. What we do know. The Bermuda Police Service has launched this month-long weapons amnesty running from today through December 17th. During this period, prohibited weapons, mainly bladed items, unusual knives, can be surrendered anonymously via secured bins placed at police stations and selected locations. Firearms and ammunition can be surrendered, but the article emphasizes, and where is that? It emphasizes that they should not be placed in bids. Instead, callers should contact police for safe handing. All right. So why it's being done? The goal is to reduce the number of dangerous items in circulation and get ahead of the game, preventing crime rather than simply responding after the fact. So the list of prohibited weapons includes items that may not yet have been seized in Bermuda, but are used in other jurisdictions. The BPS wants to prevent importation and possession ahead of escalation. So what's being targeted? As mentioned, knives, butterfly knives, disguised weapons, bladed items, martial arts type weapons, all feature in this amnesty. 8 additional items are being added to the prohibited list. The amnesty gives a chance for voluntary surrender before the enforcement of those additions. So, what are the expected benefits and realities? Well, obviously, weapons off the streets equals a success, right? Even if only one weapon is surrendered, it has value in terms of public safety. But we must be honest about this. The average, and I don't like this term, but the average gang member may not hand in a weapon. So the effectiveness of this amnesty depends on community participation and cooperation. So, what is our role in the community and outreach? The campaign places bins at accessible, visible locations in St. David's, Somerset, and Hamilton to encourage surrender. The importance of public police trust is highlighted. The bins are anonymous, and no personal details will be required when surrendering weapons. So, for a broader context, this initiative sits within Bermuda's wider strategy on community safety and anti violent efforts, including the town halls, the CCTV networks, and youth intervention programs. It signals that tackling violent crime isn't only about arrest, but also reducing tools of violence and engaging the public proactively. So, that said, I've seen some criticism on social media. I've seen people questioning whether this makes sense. Is it right? Is it something that will work? Folks, I'm telling you, this is a step. Whether we agree with it, whether we like it or not, this is a step. And it's a step that I truly believe is needed in Bermuda. They could do nothing. The police could do nothing, but they're doing something. So, question of the morning, what are your thoughts on the weapons amnesty? And do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? What are your thoughts, audience? Well, Suzanne Ingham says, it's a super awesome Tuesday, Jamel. I love your Merry Christmas sign in your shirt. Cool. Remember when? I should remember, but sometimes I just forget. She goes on to say, I doubt those who really want to harm people will turn their weapons in. Yeah, I mean, that's a concern, Suzanne. As I mentioned, the average gang member likely won't, but that's where public cooperation is imperative for this initiative, right? You're absolutely correct. And I think that Bermuda Police Service understand that as well. But public cooperation is what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, criminally determined persons are highly unlikely to turn in offensive weapons. Still, anything aimed at getting prohibited weapons off the street from society, all the better. But how do we change that? How do we get the criminally determined persons? How do we do we accept that some people are all just lost and they're gone? Do we accept that? Or do we say, you know what? Everyone, as long as they have life, can be saved. How do we respond to that, audience? How do we respond to that? How do we, because I completely agree with both Suzanne and Dr. Anthony Richardson. Don't get me wrong. I completely agree with them. I do. We had this conversation months ago. But where do we go from there? How do this is the reminder of what the police are saying. This is going to take community effort and cooperation. If we truly believe that those who are determined to commit crime will not voluntarily give up their weapons, then that leaves the onus on us, the rest of the community. Audience, what are your thoughts on the weapons amnesty? And do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? Again, if you're just tuning in, this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. And we are discussing the amnesty program that the Bermuda Police Service has going from today through December 17th. During this period, they are focused on people voluntarily turning in prohibited weapons, includes bladed weapons, unusual knives, as well as obviously firearms and ammunition. But what are your thoughts, audience, on the weapons amnesty? And do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? Manuela John says, are the bins located in a position where where there is CCTV surveillance? That may make a difference to those who are aware of that. You know what? It reminds me of the what's it called? The Crime Stoppers, where people just don't trust that Crime Stoppers is anonymous. You still have people who don't trust that it's anonymous and they go down this list of, well, how could it be? And if I get the money and this and that. I get why there will be questions about where these bins are placed. Look, it's about trust in the system, right? I watch enough news and crime shows about police stakeouts. Let's say they put the bin in Spittle Pond, right? There are people who are still going to believe that, oh, well, the police are somewhere watching, so I'm not just going to put it there. I don't think in Bermuda we can get around that. People thinking that they're being watched or that this is a part of a bigger plan. But I take your point, Manuela John. What else, audience? What are your thoughts on the weapons amnesty? And do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? We've got WKD Lama says, if the weapons were used in a crime, will the police be able to use them as evidence? It feels like a get out of jail card. That's a good question. That's a good question, because I definitely do believe, as far as guns and ballistics, they'll probably, I don't want to put this on the police, but it just seems likely that they will test the firearms to see if they've been involved in crime. So I take that point, WKD Lama. Suzanne Ingham says, well, don't come around me with a weapon because I don't hesitate to call the police. No hesitation at all. I know their number very well. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I take your point, Suzanne. I'm in that same boat. I don't want to see my loved ones, friends, anyone I know doing something that's going to put me in a position where I may have to call the police. I don't want to be in that position. So I take your point. Anyone else? Anyone else? What are your thoughts on the amnesty? Does it make you feel safer in Bermuda, knowing that this is something the police are doing? Again, so many people are critical of it and saying things, oh, you think people are just going to turn around? You'd be surprised. These things have actually worked in certain cities throughout the United States. They have. I mean, sometimes people just get to a space where they want better for themselves. It happens. They get to a place where, their conscience arrives, right? And they feel different. It happens, folks. This is not something that, it's abnormal. It's really not. This is normal. This is normal. So I take your point, though, Suzanne. I truly understand what you mean. But honestly, I don't want to be naive, but I want to remain hopeful, if that makes sense. I want to remain hopeful. And my hope is that the rest of us can remain hopeful as well. Does that make sense? That makes sense to everyone? We've got, let's see. Dr. Anthony Richardson says it's one way concerned family members can take it upon themselves to take the weapons off of their family members engaged in criminality, preventing crimes being committed with these offensive weapons. This, in sum, is a way for family members to intervene. I think he actually had some more, so hopefully he'll send the rest of it. Thank you, Maya, for this. No personal details will be required when making a surrender or prohibited or offensive weapon during the amnesty period. The surrender is anonymous and without penalty, except where other offenses are discovered on inspection, for example, unstated serious crime tied to the item. That's from the government's press release. Well, that's how amnesties work, folks. I mean, you're free from prosecution. That's how they work. And I probably should have explained what an amnesty is when we got into it. But I'm hopeful. I'm honestly hopeful. I am hopeful that our community stands up. I'm hopeful that our community, if I'm not making light of what Suzanne said. So let me be clear. I'm not making light of her saying that she would call on her friends or whoever, that she would call the police. I'm not making light on that at all, folks. I really am not. But I understand her because I've been in that position. I've been in that position. And so I get it. I get it, Suzanne. I can relate to you. Like, you don't want to, if people love you, they're not going to put you in that position, right? If they love you, they will not put you in that position. That's real. That's real. So, my hope is that the people who you love and that love you will not put you in a position where you have to call the police on them. That makes sense? Suzanne Ingham says, thank you, Jamal. Hopeful is what I am too. I got you. Charles H. Jeffers II, he says, it was stated that while persons turning in a weapon won't be charged for possession of the weapon, they can be charged for any crimes committed with the weapon. Yes. And that's going to be a hindrance. Let's be honest. That'll be a hindrance. But then that goes back to the question. If it's anonymous and they're given, surrendering the weapons. Look, folks, here's the challenge. And this is what we need to come to grips with. And I'm going to say something, and it's going to be a harsh reality. Nothing in our community is anonymous. Our community is too small to have the kind of anonymity that we think that we'll have. It's just too small. And that's not to scare people. That's just the reality, man. That's real. But what we should be focused on is doing our part to make our community safer. That should be the focus of this. The focus of this should be ensuring that we're doing our part. So I'm going to re-put the question up. Folks, do you believe, just a yes or no, do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? Just a yes or no. How many of you think that people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? Yes or no? Do you think people will do it? Now, keep in mind, again, I actually agree that one weapon off the streets is a success. I really do believe that. I honestly believe that one weapon off the streets is a success. I'm hopeful. And I know you all call me names when it comes to my cup match team, call me delusional, and some people say naive. I don't think I'm being naive in this. And the reason I don't think I'm being naive in this is because I don't believe anyone stays in the same place their entire life. And there are people who were involved in this that likely want out. Folks, this was your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. So I did just ask, do you believe people will turn in weapons during the amnesty period? Mark Arthur C. Phillips says yes. Dr. Anthony Richardson says yes. Nanuela John says yes. Sheikha Reyna says yes. Angeline Butler says yes. WKD Lama says yes. Not many though. Suzanne Ingham says, I don't know. I'm hopeful. Yes, one weapon off the street is progress, in my opinion. And Nicole Walker says, maybe a handful. Stacey Brown says, I'm glad we're on the same page. And I hope that our hopefulness turns into successful results for this amnesty, folks. I really do. We've got to bring Maya Palacio in for Daily Hour News Break, and we've got an exciting conversation coming up with the Minister of Home Affairs, Alexa Lightbourne. Looking forward to that, the Affordable Bermuda plan. Folks, before we bring Maya in, I was privileged and honored to host the Global Atlantic Entrepreneur Wave of Opportunity competition last night, and it was amazing. And when I say amazing, they will need a bigger space next year. We have some incredible entrepreneurs in Bermuda, innovators, ideas. Some of the things that we heard last night, just simply amazing. And no one left with less than what they came with. And it was an incredible night. Credit to Global Atlantic, the BDC, and the Minister of Economy and Labor, the Honorable Jason Hayward, who made a lot of people happy at the end of the night. Folks, we're going to give some love to Titan Express and Secure, then we'll bring Maya Palacio in for your Daily Hour News Break.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right, let's bring Maya Palacio in for your Daily Hour.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greeting, Maya. How are you?
Good. I have a question for the audience from that conversation, but I also have a scenario in my head that I can't stop thinking about what will happen and what would happen to that person in this situation.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so my first question, even to you, Jamal,
Uh,
if someone you knew was really terrified to hand in a weapon, would you do it for them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. And now the second one, and audience, you can answer it to yes or no, but the second one, kind of related to that one you just said, I'm gonna paint a picture here. I'm a 15-year-old teenage girl. I have this boyfriend who's in a bit of a rough spot. I believe him though, and I trust him. And he's like, look, I don't want to hand in this weapon. I'm really scared for a number of reasons.
Mhm.
Would you want to do it for me? I promise you I've never done anything with this weapon. I just want it off my hands. I don't want to deal with like a situation that I'm in anymore, and I want to get out of it, blah, blah. I say, okay, I do it. I hand it in honestly. And then that weapon's linked to a serious crime. Again, he may not have been the one to do it with this weapon, but then there it is, and I hand it in. Will I be involved in any of like the charges, prosecutions, like everything like that as well? Because I did it.
I remember a specific case back in 2009 or 10, where they had found DNA of someone on a weapon that was used in a shooting. That person wasn't charged with the crime, but they were arrested and questioned. I don't necessarily know how the law works with that stuff, but you have to prove that the person actually used that weapon to commit the crime. Just because they can be probably charged with handling a firearm, right? But as far as doing the actual crime, this is why people like Charles Richardson and others are successful, because you have to prove that they committed that crime. So I get your question, but I don't think they would be found guilty just for handling
Right.
a crime.
It wasn't really about being found guilty, just more or less being involved in everything,
Mhm.
which most likely they will be.
They could possibly be a good witness for the police and prosecution, though.
Yeah.
If they're serious about changing their life and getting out of that and handling it happen.
Yeah. And now the government statement did say if you have any questions, please speak to someone with the legal advice to give you some actual background on it. So, lawyers and people who actually know this work. But yeah, those are two things that are fluttering in my mind, just wondering in this scenario, what would happen?
I'm going to do something very unprofessional right now, but I'm having trouble this morning hearing, and like I can hear in one ear and this, not this. So it's very, if I look like I'm trying to tune in, my apologies.
Want me to talk a little louder?
The audience be like, she's loud enough, Jamel. But no, I'm just, if you see me going like this, I'm just digging it in a bit more.
Okay, awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News Break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. So from grandparents to new beginnings, People's Pharmacy has cared for every generation, truly. And the next one is just getting started. 41 years and counting, serving the beautiful people of Bermuda. Starting out with your news break this morning, from looting over the recent hurricanes that affected the island to robberies across Hamilton. Now, this has become pretty prevalent, and there's a new piece of information that's been coming out by the police. In most recent news, a home invasion that was invaded on Tribe Road, number 1 Warwick. Now, this happened around 3:15 p.m. on Sunday past, November the 16th. Apparently, 2 suspects carrying bladed weapons entered and made an untidy search of the residence. It's being reported that once they saw an occupant in the house, they fled, making good their escape, and with a quantity of jewelry. They were last seen running in a westerly direction along the nearby railway trail. Now, one of the suspects wore all black clothing, black gloves, black mask, and a dog-colored helmet with a dark visor. The second suspect wore a white jacket, black pants, black gloves, black sneakers, and a black helmet with a dark visor. So an investigation is on the way and is currently going on, but police are asking that anyone with information, even if you feel like it might not be important, to please call Detective Sergeant Seymour Foote on 717-2282, or you could also call 211.
I think it might be inappropriate for me to say what I'm saying since we're talking about amnesty. But as you all know, living in the United States, was it Second Amendment, First Amendment? Anyway, I fear for elderly couples and people who live alone in Bermuda right now because of things like that. Because there was a case a few years ago where a couple was traumatized. And that begs the question, right? What do people have in their homes to protect themselves from this kind of stuff? The good thing of what you just said, Maya, is once they saw someone in the home, they fled. So I'm grateful. But people need protection in their homes. And unfortunately, folks, we can't pray ourselves into protection. No offense, but we just can't.
Now, in other news, and this one's quite serious, really, there are fire ants.
Did you just scare me?
A little.
Ants?
It's pretty serious.
Yeah, apparently. I never thought I'd be scared of ants. You just said, just don't get close. Take a picture. My goodness, Maya.
Don't get close. Like it'll literally burn. And sometimes some reports that I have read, I kind of got into this because I was like, well, how serious are fire ants, right? And knowing that there are like 22 different species, the red important fire ant being like the one you do not want to have, according to these documentaries, and that's the one that we have right now. 3 mounds were found. The female, once impregnated, it can like go away and literally have hundreds of babies a day. Like the colonies grow and grow and grow.
Huh.
They've been around for generations, decades, millions, like years. So it's definitely something that we don't want on the island. And they actually like really damage crops. I think in the US, it said it damaged about $750 billion a year of crops out there in the States.
So they're like the lionfish of ants then.
Yeah, you could kind of call them that.
But you can't eat fire ants like you could eat lionfish.
No, I don't know how true this is yet because I didn't do more digging. I just saw a comment from someone that said that they got chickens and that seemed to help kill the fire ants in their yard because the chickens love to eat them. So luckily we have a lot of chickens. I'm going to probably reach out to Dana to see like, will that kind of compensate it? But that's one thing that
your diet. Go ahead. What else you got?
you want to be on the eyes for. All right, so this last story I'm pretty excited for because for one thing, as the youngest of 3 older siblings and all sisters and parents deep into the art scene, fashion trends and art's kind of like in my bones, like I know it. And I think we'd all agree that fashion never really dies, it just continues to come back. So skinny jeans, thank God, are fading away along with other things. But a lot of the early 2000s stuff are coming back to us that you're probably seeing, like the oversized stuff, the sets that the girls are probably wearing, the colorful scarves, things are coming back. So I say this to give hope to people out there who may not be happy about the change in media and technology, especially when we talk about AI. Now, although artificial intelligence is not a new phenomenon, because technically it has been around since like the 1950s, but it has skyrocketed in the last few years, truly, and taking over a lot in like the creative and the media space. But you may be happy to know that some old tech is actually making a pushback and even going as far as banning AI.
Do you remember Vine? Vine was a short form video app launched in 2013 where users could record and share 6-second looping videos. Those loops played on repeat automatically, which encouraged tight, punchy storylines and visuals. Vine was basically perfect for comedy and created many of the memes we use today. Now, its run ended in 2016, but this month, in the year of 2025, it's making a comeback, and not one to assimilate, but to fight back. It's being built as a decentralized, open source style social app with a big emphasis on human-made content and banning or filtering AI-generated videos. They're bringing back a time we are quickly moving out of. This may just keep some of the overusing AI creators with one foot still on the other side. But not just that, because I think this one will probably resonate more with our audience. But do you remember those phones that had a cord line and was sometimes on the wall in the kitchen or like on a side table and somehow connected to the land? Well, welcome to the creation that is Tin Can, the landline reinvented for kids, marketed as giving kids back their independence. It's been talked about by author of The Anxious Generation and also The Today Show. The point? Going back to a time with less distraction on the phone while being on the phone, independence when trying to reach their friends and having to speak to parents first, so learning respect and socializing, and knowing that they also are not receiving creepy messages that don't always get detected with parental controls, and just altogether a simpler time. Now, why are we bringing these stories to you? Because in a world full of fast and advancing AI, we often feel pressure to download apps, accept all cookies, upload an image to keep up with everyone. But we also live in a world with little to no laws on AI. So while we deeply need to discuss how we are moving forward with media that is very scarcely researched or legislated, it's not a bad idea to go back to products that have had a few years of development under their belt with less likelihoods of causing depression, anxiety, and mental health issues in adolescence.
I think I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I can appreciate that, and I'm a person who I appreciate what AI has allowed us to do, especially in business. But hey, sometimes we got to circle the block, right? More than
Yeah,
one day.
I do not disagree. I think I've definitely brought to you guys a lot of stories that can come with AI, Tara, as well, but even talking about like the robot that could be a
Mhm.
husband, but also moving into, you don't remember that story? I'll bring it back. Uh, but also moving into our government talking about the policy of making some AI policies on the island and
Mhm.
comparing where we are to other countries as well when it comes to these policies. And I've been reading some like disturbing books and like some listen to some podcasts about AI and just how it's like gonna just keep building. But the real thing is we just do not have legislation for it
Here,
over
here,
here.
here's my thing. AI. Having lost my mother to cancer, um, I just want to see AI do some things that are needed, like help resolve the cancer crisis, help bring about some solutions to things that just seem beyond man at this point. That's what I want to see. I just think that we emphasize AI's the bad in it and not focus on what good it can do and the good that we need done. What you got to do better for us?
Weather looking like a sunny start with some clouds developing in the afternoon. You got a high of 73 degrees today, guys.
All right, thanks so much for that. Do you have a winner today or no?
No, I don't have a winner
Okay.
today.
All right, so we're gonna do days of the year. So today, oh, it's Mickey Mouse Day, and I didn't know Minnie Mouse had a birthday, but anyway, it's Entrepreneurs Day. Entrepreneurs Day, folks. So who's your favorite entrepreneur? I'm gonna go first. This one may shock you. This may shock you, but
Mhm.
because I didn't like him as a basketball player. My favorite entrepreneur is actually Michael Jordan.
That's
Honestly,
that's not shock.
people who know me know I'm not a Michael Jordan fan.
Okay.
Whatever. But I say Michael Jordan because he's literally done what many fail, like so many athletes go broke after this. This guy literally took an athletic career and created $1 billion enterprise. He's my favorite entrepreneur. There's no other athlete that, and this is not a good thing, that literally had people fighting over their materialistic, items. Like it's insane. So Michael Jordan be mine. Who's your favorite entrepreneur, man?
Honestly, can't even think of one on the top of my head. But when you said Michael Jordan, it made me think about the doc and like, well, you're probably more impressed by his mother then, because I think she was the one who negotiated that contract, right?
Yeah,
Where
his
with
parents went to Nike. Yes.
parents and like made that happen for her son. So like they
Mhm.
got parents who know things as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't even think of my favorite entrepreneur now. There's too many people to actually name.
All righty. Gotta go. We've got the honorable minister, and our time is not long. So let's go take this quick break. Maya, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
All right, my applause to you, folks. If you appreciated the conversation so far, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few. Stick with us.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Pair with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear. You can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
At HSBC, how we do business in our community is as important to us as what we do for our community.
We are here at Hungary Bay with HSBC today. We're planted over 500 mangroves using 2 different methods. This work is very vital for our mangrove ecosystem and would not be possible without HSBC's generous support.
I am super happy that we have a team here of colleagues helping us replant some of the mangroves. Mangroves are critical for preserving coastal nature, and with recent hurricanes they have been taken away by waves. By replanting them, we are really helping nature be at its best.
Thank you so much for HSBC for sponsoring the Microforest Project, but by extension, the Hungary Bay Restoration Project.
Thank you to all of the charities, corporate partners, and HSBC volunteers for your commitment to our community.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis. Folks, do us a favor. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on our website, follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, we've got a very special guest in the house. I believe it is her first time on the Daily Hour, hopefully not our last. Please give a warm TDH welcome to the Honorable Alexa Lightborn, the Minister of Home Affairs. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm okay. I gotta ask you, before we jump into anything, fire ants. Are you familiar with their game?
I'm unfamiliar with fire ants. I was informed when the public was likewise informed of the recent sighting, and so Maya's kind of explanation was interesting even for me to hear, and in her kind of deep dive and additional information. But I think it's important just to be on the lookout and make sure that we can manage it, manage it from a community perspective to ensure there isn't additional challenges or uptick that causes crops to do away.
Maya seemed a bit too excited about this.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
knew a lot.
Yeah, she did, but hopefully people take heed and
Mhm.
do what's necessary. But again, thank you for stopping by and having this conversation. Hopefully, the first of many. But before we jump into the conversation, you're the Minister of Home Affairs. Just remind people of what your ministry oversees.
Yes, thank you. And that's a perfect place to start. The Ministry of Home Affairs has been streamlined to focus on affordability with the major sections and departments under my ministry's remit to include energy, telecommunications, and broadcasting. The regulatory authority is the Quango body that sits under the Ministry of Home Affairs. We also have the Land Title Registry. Consumer Affairs also sits under our ministry. And so dissimilar to municipal reform, which previous iterations have included, the registrar no longer under our portfolio, environment also no longer our portfolio, and immigration additionally is no longer under Home Affairs, which are topics and areas that people have been more familiar with under the Home Affairs remit, but we are focused on affordability. We have the cost of living as our main focal point to include those other sections and departments as well.
All righty. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for the minister, you can send them through. We'll get through as many as possible with the time that we have. All right. So let's speak about the Affordable Bermuda Agenda.
Mhm.
What is it, and how does it fit into the government's broader plan to ease what many say is their number one issue on island, the cost of living?
You're absolutely correct. Persons have shared with the government that affordability was a challenge for them living and working in Bermuda. And so the ministry at the start of our kind of redefined remit and agenda sought to first do a couple of surveys. So in March, following the appointment in February, we began with a data collection mission. We began by doing public surveys. We also did business surveys. We then hosted a cost of living summit. And the summit was informed by the survey insights and focus groups that were conducted to better refine and understand what challenges, what are the intimate details that perhaps have been overlooked in previous affordable initiatives or programs. And so the Cost of Living Summit sought to bring both stakeholders and members of the public into the room. And I think we all know that we've discussed affordability in our silos, sometimes not with an informed voice or perspective in the room. So business leaders with the public better understanding the plight of the business that they are operating, some of the nuances that being a remote island, importing most of our products, some of those added challenges that are incurred. And it was really insightful, and persons left that summit feeling more informed about the total picture of affordability and how the government is seeking to address it systematically. And so from the Cost of Living Summit, we stepped away. We received about 300 different recommendations from the public, and we sought to refine them. And so the cost of living project or strategy is informed by what we are now calling the Affordable Bermuda Agenda. And in that agenda, it outlines the efforts the ministry has taken to date. It also outlines the areas which the ministry will begin to tackle in the first instance. And it also includes some immediate wins by way of the private sector coming on board and saying, we want to support affordability for Bermuda, recognizing that the government cannot address affordability on its own. It must require kind of the whole of country and also whole of government approach. And so the Affordable Bermuda Agenda outlines phase one in our journey, chronologuing where we've come from since February and the steps that we will seek to take in the next few months.
Okay. And that brings us to the Affordable Bermuda Basket Program, which has been getting a lot of attention. Before I even ask you how it works, I was looking at some things and I'm just like, it was a document and it's just stuff all over the place. And then one store had a bunch of items with no pricing, so we can't even compare and the like. But just tell people how it works in practice and what kind of relief families can expect to see at the checkout, and how they can make it easy for themselves to access the information that makes sense and an easy read for them to understand?
So the ministry has launched the costofliving.gov.bm website, which captures both the report and also the vendors, namely the wholesalers and retailers who have sought to support this affordable basket. It's important to note that the affordable basket represents a short-term and immediate relief that the public so desperately desire, and it was informed and also birthed from the ministry and myself just having a conversation with these wholesalers and retailers, having heard their operational concerns, having committed to address them and look at them in a more refined and with a fresher pair of eyes by way of policies or legislation. But in the interim, recognizing that laws and policies can't change overnight, we must refine and confirm that they are accurate and appropriately adjusted. They were asked to kind of give consideration to what they could do by way of affordability and join the government in its efforts to immediately provide relief to the public. And so following that meeting, they went away and deliberated and discussed and committed to supporting this relief for 9 months. The 9-month relief includes the essential goods in addition to baby formula, sanitary products, dishwash and other items that were not necessarily on the essential goods list, which is found in law. So we have that essential goods list and commodities list currently in legislation that receives lower duty or 0% duty on most of those items. And so we wanted to build on that and ensure that there were a variety of essential items afforded to the public for this 9-month period. The wholesalers and retailers came to us and then said, well, we will help to not just put any items, maybe brands that persons are not familiar with, but we'll use popular household brands and have that as part of this initiative, so that there's a level of comfort. Persons have their preferences, and so we will start with brands that people know and are most familiar with, and ensure that that receives relief. And so the relief is 10% at the wholesale level and 10% at the retail level for 9 months.
So I was just reading in the U.S., not just the U.S., across the world. Like, this is not a Bermuda problem.
No, it's not.
This is bad. And in the U.S., there was an election last year, presidential election, and the victor, President Trump, he ran on lower grocery pricing, and in fact, groceries have gone up. He's touted something, what do they call it, like a stimulus of $2,000 for people on the lower end. I don't necessarily know how, like, if Bermuda government's able to do stimulus or something, but because this is across the board, right? You don't need to be show ID or anything. This is just Bermudians relief for any and everyone. Is there something being considered where it's just for specific people who make up to a certain amount, or we just don't have the logistics at this point to do something?
So what we're seeking to do is refine the next phase. The Cost of Living Commission has been reconstituted by way of new membership, and they represent a diverse group of people who represent various areas in the private sector or public sector by way of charities. We have a commissioner who is from the Chamber of Commerce. We have former health employees, we have statisticians. There's a real diversity, age concern representatives. There's a diversity of individuals that were selected, and they were intentionally selected so that they could represent the diverse voices in our community and help to refine how cost of living and the areas under the current legislation and any reformed legislation will be best regulated. And so their recent meeting was actually held on Friday, and that was exactly the frame of which the discussions took, in terms of how do we best ensure that those who need it most are able to receive it in a way that makes sense, that is fair, and is also measured and underpinned by data. And so again, the affordable basket is just the beginning. It's actually the consideration that the public sector, the private sector have given to us while we seek to further reform the policies and the legislative changes that would be necessary to ensure that there is a long-term savings afforded. And you referenced the U.S., and I think the good thing is that they're now reviewing, tariff redesign. We're kind of ahead of them insofar as we've looked at the duty concessions and duty costs, which tells us that in the first time we're kind of leading some of these discussions, not following. But we've already reviewed that. And
funny thing is, I was literally just going to ask you about the tariff thing, but
yes,
you're a step ahead of me.
Yeah, it's topical. I mean, you can't get away from it with the U.S. news. They're talking about affordability, and we've been talking about affordability for some time. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as government leaders to respond to the needs that we've heard in the community, respond swiftly. And so that's been our concise and very unwavering focus here at the ministry. Initially, I was like, okay, my portfolio is a little smaller than initially thought would be had by way of Home Affairs, because now environment and some of the other areas I spoke to earlier are no longer under our ministry. But there is no roadmap. We really are, there isn't we don't have a section that's been dedicated to cost of living in the past. There's no, technical officers that are the expert on cost of living. We're kind of charting this journey together with the public, responding to their needs, refining it, using what we do have by way of knowledge, data, insights, and creativity to say what stone has not been unturned in the past, and how do we best refine what we do know to ensure that that cost savings is actually felt and received, because that's what people want to see happen.
Got you. I want to ask in the most respectful way, how did the private sector respond to this? Because there's usually a government versus private sector. We're talking supermarkets and wholesalers. How were you able to negotiate and discuss this short-term relief? And how important is that relationship to making this a success?
The relationship is super important. I did not want to come into office and either carry on a relationship that preceded me or, lean on a relationship that maybe have been positive and just assume that I too would have a positive relationship. I sought to build a relationship with the private sector. Again, the government cannot fix everything alone. I know that the government often is the go-to for all things resolve, all resolutions, but I do believe that government doesn't know everything. We are not in the business of retail and wholesale imports at present. And so truthfully, we must engage with them to better understand and also invite them to do what is best by way of the public, do what's best by way of their customers. And they have been the beneficiaries of the customers to date. And it was an invitation to meet the government and their customers where they are for a temporary 9-month period, while the government sought to refine, import locations and diversification of, the types of goods that we can bring in, that previous laws that are sometimes, haven't been looked at for years are looked at to determine, are there ways that those laws that we currently are governed by can be refined by way of import location and other areas as well. So that was essentially the conversation. It begun at the Cost of Living Summit, which invited them to tell their story. The government wasn't interested at the time in telling the story on behalf of the private sector. I invited them to tell their own story to the people who have questions and are seeking to understand better the cost of living framework and the things that we need to do together to ensure that there is resolve and relief is actually felt.
We've spoken about groceries really today, but I mean, the affordability challenges go beyond that for Bermuda and Bermudians. What other steps is your ministry considering to help people feel more secure financially?
Sure. So it's two parts. In the first instance, the Affordable Bermuda Agenda has a number of pillars, and the pillars include utilities, it includes imports, food security. It also includes a bit of housing in collaboration with the ministry responsible for housing municipalities, and also consumer empowerment. And that final consumer empowerment is through the education piece. What do consumers need to know so that they are best suited to make informed decisions by way of their purchases? That also is underpins the Affordable Bermuda Basket, where customers are informed by cost and where they can find these costs for items that they use and love more regularly and are available at a cost that we believe to be helpful to reduce their monthly or weekly grocery expenses. The Landlord and Tenant Act is under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and we're seeking to adjust and reform those laws. These are laws that were enacted about 50 years ago, and they are due for reform. You hear landlords that complain about the relationships that they have with their tenants, and likewise, you hear tenants complaining about the relationship that they have with their landlords. And so we are seeking to reform that relationship, bring it in step with modern times, modern challenges, to ensure that both safety and security has been afforded to both landlords and tenants in an amicable and reasonable, balanced way. And so we've completed our first round of consultation on the initial draft. We do anticipate that we will have future consultation, noting that this is quite a mammoth task to refine these legislations, but we're hoping that the outcome will be comfort, which would allow for landlords to feel more comfortable leasing their properties, knowing that there are safeguards and securities in place for them that may have not been as clear before.
I want to go to the audience. I probably won't get through everything in the audience, but Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, I recently heard someone suggest that the government should purchase their own container ships to try and somewhat reduce the cost of important items. Is this something the government has or will consider?
This was a recommendation that did come in. I referenced the 300 recommendations that the government or the ministry specifically received at the start of our Affordable Bermuda journey. And so we're leaving no stone unturned. Things have evolved, and there is nothing to suggest that current state must remain the same. I think we must be able to see what is best, what is reasonable, what makes sense by way of affordability for the country in a way that is sustainable. I think temporary solutions are just as good as they're the time that they are enacted, but we want to have institutionalized and sustained change. So I thank Mr. Jeffers for his contribution relating to this proposal. We have received one similar during the cost of living summit and the data collection exercise that we did. And so it's something that is worth and has been continued to be explored.
All righty. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, under the banner of affordability, is anything being done to bring down the cost associated with fruit and veg, those imported and grown locally?
Yes. So one of the pillars talks about food sustainability. And so the ministry has begun to engage with local stakeholders and also the Ministry of Health, who has a Grow, Eat, Save initiative. And so that Grow, Eat, Save initiative that the Ministry of Health has been doing for the past 3 years, if my memory serves correctly, has been super successful. And so instead of us reinventing the wheel, we sought to partner with them to expand it, to create more community gardens, beginning in various areas in the community, to be able to not only educate people about how to grow their own items, but also be able to be beneficiaries of the goods that they do generate in a community way. Having a community garden, it immediately brings a level of camaraderie, trust, a little competition, to an extent, healthy competition, to see, how did your crop grow. And so that's what we're looking forward to in the first instance. Secondly, we are looking at the current essential goods list that is in law that has served to have lowered duty on those items. And so looking at those items to be able to adding to them based on the data that we know about healthy goods, so in collaboration again with the Ministry of Health, to be able to better expand that list that we currently have to ensure that there's reduced cost and savings felt by the public.
Minister, I know you have to go, so unfortunately, audience, I cannot take the rest of the questions, but I just want to, before you head out,
Yes.
I have this issue because I don't believe governments can necessarily solve things, especially when it comes to private sector. I think governments are legislators, policy makers, but they should, it's a separation, right? This is short-term relief. I am concerned with what happens next, not necessarily because I don't trust the Bermuda government, but this problem is bigger than the government of Bermuda. This is bigger than Bermuda. When I read about this, as I'm preparing for this show, I'm thinking about other jurisdictions, not just the United States, that are, facing this. What can you say to give the general public confidence? People who may be struggling and those who are doing okay and may struggle in the future. What can you say to them to give them confidence that this government today and your ministry can make them believers that past this short-term relief, there will be things in place that will ease the burden on how Bermudians are able to live.
Mhm. Our goal is to ensure that the public receives and feels relief. The short-term initiative is not the end, it is just the beginning of the Affordable Bermudas agenda. That is the private sector coming to us, following them sharing what their operational expenses have been, that inhibits their ability to pass the cost savings on to the customers. And so the ministry has sought to hear those insights, refine them, and legislative and policy changes will be on the other side of this first phase. In the final pages of the Affordable Bermuda Agenda, there are very specific changes that the government will seek to do in the first phase, to include diversification of import location, diversification of sourcing of goods, and also exploring different ways that goods can come on island. We've also engaged with the U.S. Consul General, who's been super supportive. We recently had a meeting with the Florida contingent to see, what are the types of things that we can explore by way of imports, to foster relationships that maybe have been explored and not confirmed in the past, but also see what is possible. And so the public should feel comforted knowing that this is the ministry's sole and unwavering focus. I'm a mother. I go to the grocery store. I feel and see the costs just like everyone else does. It's not that we get a separate grocer and a separate cost relating to things that we need and all enjoy here in Bermuda. And so this is not out of sight. It is something that is very present. And our goal and the measuring of success will be through seeing those costs reduced, and not in the long term. We want to see them happening quite quickly. There have been a few cabinet papers that are associated with this that will soon be announced to the public. The work is continuing. This is all I think about. I eat, sleep, and dream about cost of living, because for me, this is why I was elected to serve, and I want to ensure that I am successful by way of the people. I want people to feel that we have done good by their needs and delivered for them. So that's my goal.
Minister, thank you so much. I know you got to run. Hopefully you can come back sometime, because we do have some other questions, and because of the things your ministry covers, a lot more we can cover. But thank you so much for having this conversation, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Minister of Home Affairs, the Honorable Alexa Lightbourne. Folks, if you appreciated that conversation, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take our final break, and we'll come back and wrap it up. And I've got a daily play for you as well. It has to do with government legislation. Stick with us.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At Friesenbrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business, whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At Friesenbrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
PALS is a cancer care charity. We started 45 years ago. What started as a charity with a half-time nurse, and basically just assisting patients going home from the hospital, but patients dying at home. We now, 45 years later, have 6 nurses, a social worker, and a palliative care physician. I know a lot of people that watch the Daily Hour every day, so it's just educational. It helps you know more about specific charities or specific organizations, and kind of get the nitty-gritty, as opposed to just seeing a flyer on social media or just hearing or seeing a commercial. I think it's more beneficial. Like if I'm on the radio or on TV, I'm just like telling you what I think you want to know, but you might have specific questions that I can answer directly. I think it's much better having the live engagement.
Alrighty, welcome back. Thanks again to the Minister of Home Affairs, the Honorable Alexa Lightbourne, for stopping by this morning. Folks, again, whatever platform you're on, it costs you nothing. Just give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. She said some interesting things today that should make for some great work. We'll talk and have conversations with your representatives. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, HSBC, for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. Folks, if you haven't already, like, love, follow, share, but it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. 4 new games: the Sports Edition, Shoe Bite, that's Bermuda's version of Taboo. We have the crossword puzzle, and we have a coloring book for the young folks. Please follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? It's a thing. It's remember when, right? So it's a law, Bermuda law. Parrotfish have been legally protected in Bermuda since what year? Okay. No, it's not 2003. Cousin Mark Arthur C. Phillips. Anyone else? You all are Googling. Not 1985, Cousin Mark. Not 1995, Sheikah. Not 1990, Renee Simmons. Not 1990, Dr. Nancy Richardson. Suzanne Ingham says, I don't know. It's been a while. 80s, maybe? All right. So you all really have to purchase Bermuda Trivia. This is straight from Bermuda Trivia, Volume 2, and it's in the laws section. Parrotfish have been legally protected in Bermuda since 1993, and it is an offense under the Fisheries Act 1972 to take, kill, and or sell parrotfish with a penalty of up to a $50,000 fine and 2 years in imprisonment. All right. There you go. Y'all better get yourself some Bermuda Trivia. Yeah, we're trying to learn and grow together. But no, let's wrap it up. But I will say this much as regarding the amnesty program. I'm hopeful, like most of you were today, that people will turn in prohibited weapons. One weapon off the street is a success. But even more is great. So if you can encourage someone, if you know someone, please do your part. This is going to take the full cooperation of everyone in our community. As far as the conversation with the Minister of Home Affairs. I'm grateful that the government is more comfortable having these conversations with all of you on this platform. Look, at the end of the day, I feel how I feel about the government on certain issues, but this is not a Bermuda issue. But I think someone said it, that a lot of our issues are driven by lower numbers than normal. We need more people in Bermuda. And there are some opportunities. I see Canada ready to take advantage of the US possibly or discussing terminating the HB1 visa program. We need to find a way to get Bermudians back to Bermuda. We need to find a way to increase our population in hopes that it will reduce the cost. There are so many other things that we could have discussed and we can discuss with the minister, and hopefully Minister Lightbourne and many of her colleagues will continue to come on. But Teo and I said on election night, I just don't know how the government, which is not in the private sector, is not a business, can do some of the things that they are trying or saying that they'll do without private sector cooperation. And let's keep in mind, the private sector doesn't have to cooperate as long as they're operating within the laws of the land. So watch this space. This is going to be interesting. This is short-term relief, 9 months, and I think we should be asking already what comes after that, what next. But keep an eye on the U.S.'s situation as well, because again, I've been repeating it, I still don't know the saying. The U.S. coughs or sneezes and Bermuda catches a cold. Keep an eye on what's going on in the U.S. very closely, folks. Trust me. All right, well, again, last night I had the privilege and honor of hosting and emceeing the Wave of Opportunity pitch competition put on by the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation and sponsored and supported by Global Atlantic and the government of Bermuda. Some fantastic winners, and hopefully we'll have some of them on. Food Forest with Greg Wilson and his team were successful. We had Didgeridoo with Antonio Holder, who's been on this show before as well, successful. We had Tamika Pacheco, who has the RV company. She was successful. And a young lady who has an internship company was successful as well. And then Kamel Dickinson with Echelon was successful. And then at the end of the night, the minister, Jason Hayward, Minister of Economy and Labor, announced that those who were not successful at winning the 25,000 would receive 5,000 courtesy of the BDC and government. So everyone walked away with something, but it was an impressive night. And I just want to tell people, Craig Simmons said on this very show that entrepreneurship is going to be the way for our economy to bounce back. Because as jobs disappear, we're going to have to get creative and find ways to make a living. And I want people to be encouraged. And I'll tell you, if you have an idea, and this is your daily inspiration, right? An idea is sometimes only as great as the execution of it. And as I said to everyone last night who presented their business ideas and pitched, you've already won because you've shown up, you've shared your vision, your passion, your dream, your business. And even if you don't win the big prize, there are people here tonight and tuned in via stream who now know what problem you can solve for them. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making this part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.